Hey guys, Brian with Cajun Cardboard coming at you from the great state of Louisiana with our guest Jonathan Pixley. This is our weekly NBA past and present. This is episode number 2. That's what we've decided to call this thing. Jonathan, is that an apt name? It's about the NBA. It's about the NBA in the past, and it's about the NBA in the present. It should be called past, present, and future. Is that too much? Is that too confusing?
I don't know. I mean, because how much future are we going to talk? Well, we did talk about future.
Yeah. We do that. We do a lot of predictions. So we put ourselves out there to look like idiots sometimes. But some of these will age very well, and some of them will not age very well. Ben Simmons, my comeback player of the year, that is not aging well. That prediction is not aging very well, is it?
It is not. And he keeps putting up like 10, 7, and 5, and that's just not going to get it done. I mean, he's better, but it's just not going to get it done.
That's not revenge Ben like I was expecting to see. But we're not here to talk about Ben Simmons today. We're going to talk about two things. Number one, we're going to briefly discuss what we saw last night. What I saw in its entirety and what you fell asleep watching because we're both old. And I'll be honest with you, I can't throw any shade at you because the odds of me finishing a West Coast game that went into overtime is very slim. It just happened the stars aligned for my 48-year-old ass to be awake and watch the whole thing last night. We're talking about the Lakers and the Celtics.
Bro, you sent me a text. You sent me a text at 11:45. I checked it this morning, saying, praying you stayed up and watched this. And I was like, okay, one of two things happened. Either my guy woke up at 2 p.m. yesterday, from a 24-hour slumber, or he got bit by a vampire. It's one of the two. Because that's
I'm not awake for that West Coast shit. That's why I chose the Bucks, right? I got to pick the team that finishes the games earliest so I can actually watch them.
Right.
No, I was up. My daughter, they got exams, and she had. There's a big storm coming through in like 4 or 5 hours here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, allegedly. So
allegedly, yeah.
Allegedly, I'll be honest with you. I looked at the radar. It does look a little bit unavoidable, but for once they may get it right. But my daughter had a bunch of girls sleeping over. They were upstairs, like her bedroom's above mine. It sounded like a stampede. My wife and I are tossing and turning, and I was like, well, shit, I can just go finish this Lakers game. Or a Celtics game, I should say. And so I went out there and watched it. What is your takeaway? And by the way, the purpose of this episode, Jonathan and I are going to talk through not what we think will be the NBA first, second, and third all NBA teams. We're going to talk about if we had to give the award out right now, 31% of the way through the season, who would make our first, second, and third? Sorry, 34%, Jonathan. We're 1/3 of the way through the NBA season. So we're gonna give our all NBA teams first, second, and third, and kind of talk through that. But before we do that, just your thoughts, generally speaking, on what you saw. What can we take away from that Lakers Celtics game last night?
Well, first of all, I do want to insert the FanDuel segment very briefly here because it does have something to do with the game. It's one of the reasons most of the game. Okay, so very rarely, there's something called a bet slip. So it's got several different bets that are all on that. It's basically an all or nothing deal, right? You got to get them all right in order to win the money based on the odds. So the bet slip in the different categories were Tatum to get 25, LeBron to get 20, Marcus Smart to get 10, and Westbrook to score 15. So obviously I knew the first two were going to happen. The second two was kind of a toss-up. Well, that happened very easily. It did not start well at all. But the reason I took the bet anyhow is I had already won money earlier in the night on Harden making 4 threes, which I knew he would against Sacramento. But I was like, you know what, I'll play a little bit more. And I went with it because I said, first of all, Marcus Smart and Russell Westbrook are the two most hard-headed guards in the league, for sure. Okay. So they're going to try to go at each other. Right? Yeah. And they're going to try to score when they shouldn't. And right when Westbrook stepped in the game, he airballed a corner 3. And then what did he do the very next possession? He caught and shot another 3 for no reason whatsoever. Right. I think he dribbled up into a 3. Marcus Smart started 1 for his first 7. I was like, shit, I'm going to lose this bet. Apparently they got going late.
He did. He did.
I knew LeBron. I knew Tatum was going to go at LeBron, and LeBron would respond. And both of those guys did. As far as the game itself, like I said, I fell asleep with 7 minutes left, but I did go watch the highlights at the end and in overtime. And Tatum made it a point to go directly at LeBron. You said LeBron was exhausted. He looked exhausted in the highlights. I know he took a tired shot at the end of regulation.
Tired shot.
Yeah, and to me in that scenario, I guess he shoots that ball, but I mean, dude, AD's killing people right now. So whatever, I'm not going to question that. This is LeBron James.
Here's Jonathan, what you missed after you went to sleep was I've never seen momentum swing so sharply twice in such a short succession, right? So it was an ass whipping. I sent a text at like 11:16 or something like that to a friend of mine, Andrew, who's on the Luka Nation Network, and it was a really nasty text. It was like, "This is the best team in the NBA, question mark. The Bucks now have the best record." Because at that time, I think the Lakers were up like 13 points with 4 minutes or something.
Yeah, but they were up 27 at one point.
The Lakers were up 27 points?
27 at one point.
Okay. Well, they were up 13 with like 4 minutes left, and I'm taunting my friend, and I needed to walk that back. I don't know how to delete text before they see it. I don't know if you can do that. I don't know, but I needed to look into it. So I looked like an idiot. So what happened was Lakers swiped the momentum back from the Celtics, and then just somehow they just hit a switch, and then the Lakers couldn't score and the Celtics couldn't miss. And then it got down to where Tatum needed to make a last-second shot, and going into overtime, and you saw it, LeBron shot a bailout, Doncic-type step-back fadeaway, which Doncic is fine taking those. He's on balance. The LeBron shot had no chance of going in. It looked like absolute, complete desperation. You would like to think the old LeBron would have put his head down and put his shoulder through somebody's teeth and either drawn a foul and or likely, like we talked about, kick out to the corner to Westbrook to shoot an air ball. Or maybe Lonnie Walker or Troy Brown to make a shot. Or, God forbid, you throw it in to the one guy that was unstoppable all night on the Lakers, Anthony Davis. That being said, Anthony Davis and LeBron James, the reason they lost that game is those dudes looked phenomenal. They hit a wall, a glaring brick wall, and Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and even Marcus Smart did not. Their energy level was on another level in the fourth quarter, late fourth quarter and overtime, and LeBron and AD had nothing left. I don't think AD scored in overtime. I'd have to check, but I don't think he scored, and he took one shot, which was a meaningless three after overtime was pretty much over because everybody was taking threes. Westbrook, I think, took at least 2 consecutive threes, and it might have been 3 consecutive shots in overtime. And I don't have to remind you, he was horrific from the field last night, jump shooting for sure. He had a good stat number across the board, but from the field, it was a disaster. He can't shoot a basketball. He just can't do it. So what I take away from last night is that youth versus – there's an element of positivity to having veterans on your team, but when your veterans run out of gas in a game like that, and I'm pretty sure the Celtics were coming off a back-to-back, and it's the last game on a West Coast road trip, and they still had buku energy to shove it down the Lakers' throat in that last 4 minutes and overtime. That's the difference between one of the best teams, I'll admit it, one of the best teams in the NBA, and then a team that just doesn't have what it takes at the moment. Playoffs are different. You've got days in between. The NBA spaces the schedule out. So, and again, these two teams will never match up in the playoffs, right? I mean,
yeah, no,
I can't imagine. I guess if they did, the Lakers roster would look different, right? So I guess it is possible, but it would mean there was some type of massive overhaul trade going on. I could see the Celtics making the finals for sure. For the Lakers, I think to make the finals, they'd have to have an upset in 3 rounds of the playoffs, and or their roster would have to look drastically different. So.
You have with Boston, which is interesting, you have, what we call dogs, right, across the board. I mean, they got a lot of dudes who are just freaking tough. And when your biggest dog is your best offensive player as well, Tatum's a killer, dude. We didn't see it when he came in the league. I didn't question that part. I just didn't know if he was going to be athletic enough.
Our biggest concern, Jonathan, he couldn't go by anybody.
Right.
Even last year, he was putting up numbers, but he wasn't going by anybody.
In the finals. And you saw he had issues in the finals.
He had big issues in the finals, yeah.
Jaylen Brown is a dog. Smart is obviously a dog, almost to a fault, right? Because he thinks he's better.
Almost to a Dylan Brooks level. Almost to a Dylan Brooks level.
But I do you're talking about, the Celtics just have a lot better players, dude. They just have a lot better players. When you're starting Patrick Beverley, like, come on, dude. How's the dude in the league? I know we're going to do that.
Did you see his layup where he couldn't reach?
2 in a row. And then he went and then he missed another one immediately after that. I'm like, good. You got to be kidding.
Yeah.
You know who can play? You know who can play is the Reeves kid.
He's not bad. I'm
just saying, like, he's a solid. He's serviceable. He can be productive. You know what I'm saying? He can make an open shot. He could be a great 8th dude, 7th dude on a championship team. You know what I'm saying?
No, I like him. I like him as a fit. I'd love to have him on the Bucks. Like he would be an upgrade over what we're hoping Joe Ingles will be, which is, going to be that 9th guy. Like, certainly I'd rather Reeves than George Hill.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? That's me as a Bucks fan. So, all right, let's get to what we came to do. We can both agree the Celtics, man, they really flipped the switch. They're elite. They're amongst the 1, 2, 3, 4 best teams in the NBA. Probably one of the best 2 teams in the NBA, in my opinion, at least.
Yep.
But let's talk about our All NBA teams and what's the best way to attack this. As always, just to make it clear, we never script this. I have no idea who's on your teams.
Right.
The one thing we did need to discuss, and I can never remember. We talk about it all the time, but I can never remember. We've got these NBA teams structured to where you have to take a center and then 2 front court and 2 back court. But there's a little bit of malleability, a little flexibility where, a small forward can be a guard, or a guard you can kind of be, like a Kevin Durant. What's Kevin Durant? What's a Tatum? What's a Jaylen Brown, for instance, stuff like that. So
that's funny because those 3 dudes are definitely forwards in this situation. The questions are Luka, for some reason, they keep saying he can be a forward. LeBron, they're saying he can be a forward and a guard when really he's the point guard. Anthony Davis could be a forward or a center.
There's gray. Look, so don't flame us if don't look at scream at the screen and say, blah, blah, blah is not a center. Well, I get it, but the NBA's done this before, so we're going to do it too. And just to be clear.
Keep this in mind. Adam Silver has talked about changing this because the All-Star format is 3 front court, 2 back court, and it doesn't matter if there's a center.
That's where I get confused. Okay, so All NBA, where you slot them is different than All-Star game. That makes no sense.
No.
But that's where I get confused because I feel like we talk about this every year.
Yeah.
Before we get started, is that a mechanical pencil in your hand?
Right here, sure is.
Literally, like the mechanical pencil that I use. Is that from 4th grade? That is unbelievable that you would use a pen.
Over here. I'll send you one.
Well, let me ask you a question. Why wouldn't you use a pen since it's 2022?
Because I can't read my own handwriting, so I have to erase at times. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I haven't written anything like with a pen or a pencil in like a decade. Why are you writing anything? Why wouldn't you type something?
Because I'll take notes on this. You want to see where my 1st, 2nd, and 3rd teams are? Right here. There you go. You don't even have big paper yet.
Nope. You haven't even graduated to like loose leaf is what they used to call paper back in my day. I guess they still call it that. All right, let's get, that's ridiculous. That's a whole episode right there. You know what? Comment below if you still use mechanical pencils. That was really cool when I was in 4th grade, that a pencil could be like mechanical, like we called it mechanical. But I've never.
How many people use sticky notes?
No, I use sticky notes now.
Okay.
Now, I would not put this much information on one light blue sticky note, but you would. So
I did.
You did. You did. Well, we'll see how it works. Let's
start with 3rd teams. Let's start with 3rd teams.
Right? Agreed.
And then you want me to name all of mine first? Or
yes.
Okay.
I want you to name your whole 3rd team, and then I'm going to name my whole 3rd team, and then we'll work our way through there, and we'll see what's the same and what's different, and we'll kind of talk through that, and then we'll kind of revisit it.
Okay. I'm going to tell you, man, this 3rd team was very difficult because I could have flipped the guards, honestly, to 2nd team and flipped the 2nd team to 3rd team potentially. But I'll tell you where I went here. I have Donovan Mitchell on 3rd team as a guard. I really struggled with him not being on 2nd team. But I went and looked at the numbers too, and I saw like his PI number is not super high. Look, he's having a heck of a year. So my point is, he could have very easily flipped the 2nd team. Yeah. Devin Booker's another one, and I have him on 3rd team. And I mean, he probably very easily could have been 2nd team as a guard, right? Now, the Suns have faltered here recently, and he has struggled a little bit in the last few games. So that was one of my reasons why I did that.
And he hasn't played the last 2 games in a row. Yeah,
these 2. My 2 forwards were Zion Williamson, who is destroying the league right now. And really, if he had played more games, he probably bumps up for me. But he missed 8 games, I think, so far. And then Jaylen Brown is my other third team forward at this point. And then my center was Bam Adebayo for third team.
Okay.
Again, we talked about it like
he's been on fire, playing offense. Finally, it's like what pick and choose. Like, hey, can you play offense or not? And lately, he's gone bananas.
But I did have 2 guys. I really had one guy on the outside looking in, and it's because his team is much better than we thought they were going to be, and his numbers are really off the charts. And that's Tyrese Halliburton. I didn't put him on there, but he's close, and he's leading the league in assists. He's averaging almost 20 a game as well, shooting good percentages. So
he's averaging, Jonathan, 19.4, 10.7 assists, 4.3 rebounds, shooting 48%, 86% from the line.
Like 1.8
steals, I think. Here's what's cool. People like kind of affiliate usage rate with having the ball in their hands a lot.
Yeah.
He has the ball in his hands a lot, but his usage rate is 23.3. Jonathan, it's the lowest usage rate amongst the best 20, probably the best 20 statistical players in the NBA, and he's a point guard, and he's always got the ball. I mean, he kind of plays that high, like Harden, Doncic, LeBron, like puppet master type game, as that big, strong lead guard. Halliburton's a tough one. I left Halliburton off all 3 of my teams as well. Just no slight to Halliburton. And statistically, he might be a little bit superior to some of these guys, but some of these guys, their teams are better. So, so our third team only has one player in common, Jaylen Brown. That's it.
Because I bet your guards are on the second team. I bet my guards are on your second team.
It's probably going to work out that way. I've got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on the third team, even though statistically his stats are first team worthy. His stats are better than my second first team guard, but his team is not any good.
I know.
And then I got Ja Morant on the third team. He's not as efficient as any of these other guards. He's just not. I looked at it close, and I know the team's overachieving. He's missed a couple games here and there. I mean, how many games has Morant missed? He's played 22 of 25, 26 games, something like that. So not too bad. But his team's obviously massively, I think, overachieving. Some people expected them to do this. They're 18-9. They're tied for first in the West. I could be persuaded to put him on second team. He wouldn't make first team for me just because he's not quite as efficient. And I look more at efficiency than necessarily the wow factor and things like that. So I've got SGA and Morant in my backcourt. I've got Jaylen Brown as my small forward. And then this is something – you may disagree with me. I had a hard time choosing between 2 players at the other forward position. I chose Siakam, but it easily could have been Paul George. And I know you probably don't have Siakam on any of your teams, and I didn't realize what he was doing statistically until I went and looked closer at it. Siakam's numbers are damn near indistinguishable from Paul George. I'm trying to think of who else is Jimmy Butler. All these other forwards that are kind of in the mix. Siakam's numbers are absolutely filthy. I'm trying to find them right now. Here we go.
He was on my outside looking into, along with Paul George, but Siakam was underneath Halliburton for me because he's had a heck of a year, dude. He really has.
He's a forward, and Halliburton's a guard.
No. I'm just saying from a standpoint of could have.
How close? Yeah. No, and Toronto's not doing anything special. The Pacers aren't doing anything special. So throw teams out. They're close. I mean, we talked about Halliburton's numbers. Do you realize Siakam is 25, 9, and 7 with over a steal a game, 48%? Not a great three-point shooter, but those are filthy numbers, man. And so I thought we had seen the best of Pascal Siakam maybe 2 years ago, but I was wrong. He's unquestionably going to make an all-star team because somebody from that team has to make it. Van Vliet's been awful. Scotty Barnes has been awful. OG Anunoby has been great this year. Not good enough to get in one of these teams in my book. But if I had to pick one player off that team, I'm taking Pascal Siakam.
I don't like the way he plays. Statistically, he's off the charts, but I don't like his game.
Oh, he doesn't.
No, Siakam's game.
Oh, it's just a master of great at everything, a master of nothing is the way I see it. And just plays really hard and is pretty good at everything. Pretty good at defense. Pretty good shooter. Pretty good ball handler. Pretty good size. He's just kind of like He just doesn't wow you with anything, you know.
Yeah.
My third team center, and I guess what you did is you put AD at a forward somewhere, I'm assuming. And I've got Embiid as my third team center.
Oh, yeah, I didn't. He's killing the league right now, so can't do that. Yeah. I couldn't do that.
You got Embiid higher.
Yeah, for sure.
So you okay, I see what you did. The reason I didn't is he's missed too many games. He's not even eligible right now, Jonathan, to be the scoring leader.
He's the only guy that I okayed in that because he's killing the league right now. So I mean, yeah. And I may honestly be guilty of putting him kind of thinking future, you know, down the road if he plays enough games. But yeah, I can see why you did that though. It makes sense.
Yeah. I could be persuaded to flip-flop him and who we're going to talk about that I put as center for the second team. In fact, I probably should. You probably talked me out of it. We'll revisit it at the end. So that was my third team. Embiid, Siakam, Jaylen Brown, SGA, and then Morant.
No issues with that. I mean, Siakam is worthy for sure. I mean, you could argue for me that Zion, you know, he missed games too. So, but I think he's played enough. So again, I'm taking into account who I think is absolutely destroying the league right now. And really and truly, those two dudes, along with Anthony Davis, are at the top of the list, right? As far as who is absolutely destroying the league. Okay. So time to move to second team. You ready to do that?
Second team.
So we did. My guards from your third team are the guards on my second team.
SGA and Morant. Okay.
Yeah. I couldn't get past SGA's numbers. I mean, they're incredible right now.
They're incredible, man. Efficient out the ass. It doesn't make any sense what's going on. That's how efficient.
This team, and you know how I am. It's the rare occasion where I'll put a guy from a team that's awful on this high, but I don't want to penalize him for it. I think he's having a heck of a year. Yeah. And John Morant, to me, yes, efficiency, you're correct. But I think he has a bigger impact on winning than even Donovan Mitchell and Devin Booker do. And that's saying something because those two dudes are affecting winning in a big way right now. But I think he affects winning, affects culture, affects all. And I just think he's better than those guys, period.
Yes.
My forwards are
this is where it's about to get really interesting because I feel like on our first team, there's going to be four players we can't disagree on.
At least three for sure. Yeah.
I think it's four.
I think you're right. Okay.
But go ahead.
So actually, it might be five, dude. We may have the exact five. But
we're not going to have the exact five.
Okay. So I have Anthony Davis as one of the forwards. And if the Lakers had a better record, he would probably without question be on the first team. But because his numbers are off the charts, leading the league in rebounding.
Right. Shooting
59% right now, I think.
Yeah, I know. I mean, he had an awesome game last night too. He just didn't have any juice left in the tank.
I've got Kevin Durant as my other forward, which is tough because he's Kevin Durant and he's
tough, man. I know. And
if you had to start a team, he's one of just for a season, right? He's one of probably three guys that you would choose, four guys that you would choose. But I have him on the second team.
And by the way, don't look now, but the freaking Nets are 17-12, and they've won 8 out of their last 10, my friend. So completely off the narrative, like completely, because everybody's like Kyrie, Ben Simmons, who did they kill? Who did they molest? What did they say? Who did they disparage? And then it's like, wait, what just happened? Joe Harris, CJ Warren. Yeah. Like shit's changing, and they're going to be a scary factor, and especially if they have home court advantage like they do right now because they're in fourth. So
yeah. And then Embiid was my center, and again, I know he missed some games, but I mean, dude, he is torturing the league right now. I mean,
yes, he is. He is, and so the switch that I would probably make, I've got AD as my second team center.
Yeah.
And I've got Embiid as my third team center. I probably needed to look a little bit closer at that. And if all stats were a tie, then team success would be the tiebreaker, and Embiid would get the nod.
So you would flip AD to third team?
I'd put AD as the third team center.
Okay.
And see, I think that's why I didn't do it, because I've got two forwards on my second team and two forwards on my first team that I can't put AD in front of.
Well, if you look at what I did, I guess the argument is.
Well, let me ask you a question. I'm going to deduce something here, and you tell me if I'm crazy. You don't have Zion on any of your teams.
No, I have him on third team. I named him.
Oh, you said Zion. Okay, yeah, sorry, I'm old. Okay.
But I guess what I did was I put Bam Adebayo on there, and instead of like Siakam, for example, right?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I have no issues with that. Yeah.
That was the.
Yeah, I guess I'm struggling with these puzzle pieces, but so I've got AD as my second team center. My forwards are Durant and Zion.
Mm-hmm.
And then my guards are Donovan Mitchell and Steph.
Okay.
And we're gonna have 4 out of 5 on the first team the same, and you're not gonna have I'll just tell you, you're gonna have Steph on your first team, I'm assuming.
Because you have Donovan Mitchell on your first team. So
no, I got Donovan Mitchell on my second. I got Booker on my first team.
Booker, okay.
Yeah, despite the fact he's missed 2 games.
I feel like the Suns have fallen off pretty significantly here recently. I'll be honest with you, dude. We'll get to it. Anyhow, so
that's another one I could be persuaded. I could be persuaded to switch Steph and Booker because statistically Steph is probably better, and that's where the team came in. And you're right, the Warriors haven't been exactly great lately either, and they're not. I mean, they're a half game in the play-in. They're almost not in the play-in.
I know.
And I feel like Steph's cool. I know he's still putting up crazy numbers, and his body of work is huge. But like the last 3 or 4, he's cooled a little bit. I mean, a little bit. He's chilled out a little bit. And Booker's been dinged up for sure. And that's why the Suns have lost those games. They've lost, I think, maybe 2 or 3 in a row or something like that. Let's see. The Suns have lost 5 in a row. And I know Booker was hurt and playing for a couple, and then he's just sat in the last 2 or 3. I can't remember.
That was my issue. Is the way it's.
You might be right. Yeah, you might be right. On the fantasy basketball rankings, Curry is 5th and Booker is 20th. So statistically, you're right. You know, Curry across the boards better than Booker.
Who'd you rather have?
Obviously, he's scoring it at a crazy clip. You know, Steph.
Who would you rather have?
No, I mean I'd rather have Steph Curry, but again, I'm trying to take my heart. I put Middleton on the first team. You know, Jrue Holiday. I'd have Connaughton at the forward on my first team. I'm not going to choose in my heart. You know, I'm choosing with my head. But
that is your head. That's what I'm saying. Who would you rather have on your team? To win?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I would probably, I'd probably rather have Steph than Booker for sure.
Really? You'd rather have Steph Curry having maybe the greatest season of his career and he's won 2 MVPs before than Booker?
Yeah. Well, if he's having the best season ever, there's 4 guys having better seasons. Here's what I've noticed across the board. I was talking about this with my good friend Chris McGill of Card Ladder fame. Everybody's numbers are up astronomically this year because more points are being scored, either less defense is being played, or people have just become more efficient. The NBA is at its peak of efficiency, so everybody's numbers are eye-popping, like magical career-type numbers, and that's why I did a video the other day, and I could, normally you can say, well, these are the 6 guys that are fighting for the MVP. I got 13 guys because the only thing that's going to distinguish those guys, their statistics are jumbled. Yep. The team records are jumbled, and so you can't really throw a cast net out there, a narrow one. You got to throw a big old fat one because anything can happen. I mean, what if I told you that the Nets were going to win the East? Is that crazy?
Not out of
the
realm.
If the Nets win the East and Kevin Durant's averaging 30 a game with this efficiency, is he not an MVP?
Has to be.
He could be an MVP.
Has to be considered. Yeah.
He's probably 8th right now on people's ladder. 9th.
Well, I have him on the second team. So there you go.
It's crazy right now. It's just too jumbled up right now. 4 games separate.
Pace of play is the reason why all this is happening.
Yeah.
You realize that.
Yeah.
They're taking, and a lot of it to me has to do with absolutely what most would consider horrific shot selection, but these dudes make these shots now.
Research has been done. People are being told who can and can't take threes.
Right.
Marcus Smart and Dylan Brooks are not listening, but everybody else is listening. And they've got really intelligent people out there that are crunching the numbers and saying, and Westbrook's obviously not listening, but a lot of people have the green light to take, step into off the dribble threes on transition, fast break. The numbers just work out, man. It is what it is. 33% from 3 is 50% from 2. Yep. And guys are shooting 40% from 3, which means it's like 65% from 2. So it's making sense, for the right people to take the threes. Especially corner threes. So I'm going to take a lot of heat for this. Yeah, Steph should probably be in front of Booker, especially since the Suns are on a 5-game slide. But that could be flip-flop.
He's just better.
Yeah, he's better. His numbers are better too. Yeah. You're right. Let's switch it. Steph, you've already got me to switch too. I feel like I'm a doormat here.
You didn't make that switch, did you?
You're proud. you and your mechanical pencil and your stickies are browbeating me and bullying me into changing my answers. But you are right. Steph should be more on the first team and Booker should be on the second team. If that's the case, then our first team's the exact same. I'm just going to say it. Jokic, Giannis, Tatum, Steph, and Doncic.
Yeah, and I want to say something about that because Tatum, I'm going to be honest with you, I had him, the way I wrote it down on my sticky note, I had him and Durant stacked with each other between first and second team because Tatum struggled the last 4 games prior to last night. But they have the best record in the league. I think you have to have somebody on that team. And dude, what he did last night, it just emphasized everything that he's done up to this point. Yeah. So he has to be on that first team without question. You're right. He's the MVP right now, right?
What?
He's the MVP right now, right? Tatum.
Giannis has not been as efficient as old Giannis because of his free throw situation, and then last night he was a disaster. Last night's game was absolutely the worst. They beat the Warriors by 20, but they got the same record basically. I don't know, it's tough. And then Jokic, is he the MVP? If I had to hand an MVP award, the Michael Jordan MVP award to somebody right now, I would still probably hand it to Tatum. I would probably hand it to Tatum.
Okay. I don't know, man. Giannis that's a tough one. You're right. I think Tatum, with kind of recency bias and the fact that he's never won one and all that stuff, I'm just saying, who's been better?
You had to give it to somebody today, right now. If you had to award the award right now, 34% of the way through the season, you'd give it to Tatum?
No, I'm wrong. I'd give it to Giannis.
You give it to Giannis?
I would, yeah. I think he's the most valuable player. He weathered the storm without Middleton, at the beginning, and
they're a half game behind the Celtics, and they should have had the best record in the league after last night. They're 1 game, and same in the loss column. They both have 7 losses.
Yeah. The difference between him and Tatum is when Tatum goes 9 for 26, it's a bad 9 for 26, right? And really that affects the whole thing. Whereas Giannis can go 9 for 26 and still dominate the game.
Tatum's also played 5 more games, and that matters. That consistency, that durability matters. And Giannis has got this questionable left knee soreness every single game, and I'm getting sick of it. And it's maddening. But he's played a lot of games without Middleton and or Jrue Holiday and or both.
Yeah.
The problem, I think his free throws are becoming the narrative, man. 62.8% is awful, and his threes are freaking awful.
Yeah,
his threes are all. I have not looked at his box score. In fact, I'm going to click it if you've got a second here.
Yep.
And pull this up. I want to look at. Come on, computer, spin. I want to look at Giannis's game logs. Are you ready for this? I don't know. I haven't looked at this yet, but oh crap, we don't see how many threes he took.
Shit. Yeah, you do. Was it not on there?
No, I don't have 3 points attempted. It's just threes made. So I'd have to go to a different site. Well, crap. I don't have 3-point percentage up there either. So here, go ahead. You keep talking. I'll go to NBA. Tell me about Jokic. Tell me why none of us have mentioned Jokic for MVP. He's having one of the most efficient seasons in history. Jonathan, he's 1 assist away from being the first center ever to average a triple-double and the second player ever. Third player ever.
Yeah, he is. I just don't think he's the best player in the league. I mean, he's ridiculous. Don't get me wrong.
You don't think he's the best player in the league the last 2 years or this year?
I haven't thought he was the best player in the league in any of those years. I'm not saying he didn't deserve MVP at least one of those years. I really, I think he probably did. But look, we know that best player and MVP are 2 different things ultimately.
Yep.
So no, I mean, look, he's having it. To me, what he's doing right now is exactly what Steve Nash did the year after he won his second MVP, which is put up better numbers than either of his MVP numbers, but
not win MVP.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't even considered. Right?
That's one place where I hit the nail on the head with my preseason projections was Jokic take way fewer shots, but average crazy rebounds and assists, and literally play Westbrook triple-double chasing type basketball and just be a puppet.
I think he's shooting 60-something% too, isn't he? Right at 60%.
Oh, it's stupid. Yeah. I mean, he's hang on, let me go back. Jokic is statistically, fantasy-wise, he's the 6th best player in the league. He's 24, 10, and 9.1, 1.2 steals, 0.7 blocks, 62%, 80% from the line.
My God. That's crazy.
Yep. Yeah,
that is crazy.
But getting back to Giannis, Jonathan, he is shooting 25% from three, 25.7, which is the worst he's shot in 4 years. Third worst that he's shot in his entire career. He's taking 3.2 a game and making 0.8. And I wish I could see his game log, for God's sakes. His game log recently has been horrific. I don't understand why the NBA.com website has turned to crap.
Yeah. But tell me this. Okay, so statistically, I got it. Shooting percentages are bad, whatever. His numbers overall are Giannis numbers, right?
They're not, Jonathan. He's
point rebounds and assists I'm talking about. Points, rebounds, assists. That's all I'm talking about.
31, 11, and 5.
Yeah. I mean, those are Giannis numbers, right?
Yeah.
The scoring's up a little bit, actually. And so I take into account after that, okay, who affects winning the most in the league, and I think he does.
I agree. Well, let me just throw this at you, and you can make a decision. He didn't win MVP last year,
right? And
this year he is playing more minutes and has a worse field goal percentage, worse 3-point percentage. He's 10% worse in free throws, taking more. He's rebounding less. He's assisting less. He's turning it over more. He's stealing the ball less. He's blocking the ball less.
I think
his plus minus is worse.
Product of two things. Number one, I do think he is not 100%. Okay, obviously. And then number two, I think not having Middleton,
not having the players
and those guys made him feel like he had to score more and take more difficult shots.
He probably did.
Now the free throw line, there's no excuse for it.
Yeah,
no excuse from the free throw line. Okay?
No excuse there. Well, fatigue. I mean,
true. But the rest of it, I think, is attributed to those two factors. I really do. So.
And we both know fatigue's not the reason he's not making free throws.
Not that dude. Yeah. Not that dude.
It's the disgusting technique. Well, you bullied me into changing my first team to match yours, so it's official. I'm just taking orders. You convinced me. And I agree with you, man. In hindsight, I agree with you. I'm going to go Embiid to Embiid to the third team, AD to second team. Is that what I changed?
No, you switched those. You
switched those, and then Booker and Steph I'm switching to. You're right. The Suns, I didn't realize they lost 5 in a row. And again, Booker wasn't there, but if you're not there, availability is the best ability. So,
yeah, SGA, I'll be honest, SGA and Donovan Mitchell were my two toughest because Mitchell, I mean, they're winning. They're winning.
Let's talk about the supporting cast.
Yeah, very much so.
Is it fair to say that you could take any player on any of our 3 teams and put them in Donovan Mitchell's spot, and they would still be at least in third in the East?
Yeah, because but the fact remains
is
those dudes were there last year. You put him in the lineup, and now they're third in the East. So I guess that's the way I look at it. But no, you're right. You could take Booker, you could take SGA, you could take those other dudes, put them in there, and it'd be the same thing, 100%.
Yeah.
Zion was another tough one for me. It was really just a games played thing because I do think he's going to end up being second team by the end of the year if he stays healthy. Because it's
hot lately. Yeah, for him to get second team, they're going to have to do some finagling because KD, Giannis, Tatum, AD. There's 4 forwards that Zion's going to have to leapfrog. So the only way Zion gets second team is if somehow the Pelicans remain at or near the top of the West, and I don't think that's going to happen.
I know you don't think that, and I know you're struggling. You think I overreacted the other day when I told you what I said about them, but they have, in my opinion, now I'm you can destroy this if you want, obviously, but I think, in my opinion, and I don't think it's really that close. I think they have the best starting 5 in the league. Okay, because you have true. No, I think these dudes are better, man, because you have true pros, like real experienced pros. You have 3 guys who can get their own shot. Like, to me, in a playoff situation, I would rather have CJ McCollum than I would Darius Garland right now. Darius Garland's not going to be that down the road, I don't think, right now.
Jonathan, you don't believe they have the best starting 5 in the NBA. That's ridiculous.
For sure, because I think Brandon Ingram is better than anybody Cleveland has.
Is Brandon Ingram better than Chris Middleton, who's made 3 All-Star games in a row?
He's at least as good.
Is Brandon Ingram better than Jrue Holiday?
Yes.
The Bucks' 3rd best starter.
For sure.
Okay. Where do you go after Ingram? And then
you understand that CJ McCollum is better than Jrue Holiday.
What?
Go look at their career stats. I didn't think so.
I'm not talking about their career, my friend. I'm talking about right now. No human being on the face of planet Earth would rather CJ McCollum than Jrue Holiday. CJ McCollum's been horrific this season.
Look last year. No. As recent as last year, he's been hurt, dude. I'm talking about, you got to take that into account. Go look as recent as last year. McCollum missed 4 or 5 games in a row, dude. So when you go look at it, it's not that it, and Jrue Holiday is one of the greatest defenders I've ever seen. Okay. So I'm not trying to compare there. Offensively, it's not close between those two. It's not. Go look at percentages.
I think it's really close. In fact, I think it might be not close the other way. We're about to pull this up. This is how we're going to end the show. Hold on.
Because I couldn't believe it when I saw it. Because I was like, wait a minute. I just started comparing guys. I really couldn't believe it. Now, you do take into account that McCollum was one of 2 on a team, but Jrue Holiday played on bad Pelicans teams and didn't put up numbers like this.
Why are we talking about Jrue Holiday as a Pelican in the 1980s?
I'm talking about go back as early as last year. Okay?
I'm not going back to last year. McCollum has hit a wall. He is a disaster so far this season. It was a horrible signing.
He's hurt.
What do you mean he's hurt? He's played every game. Look, he's played 20. He's played more games than Jrue Holiday.
He still looked last year.
Okay, well, here's the deal. McCollum's a scorer, and Holiday averages more points. He averages more points. They've got the same blocks. Holiday has more steals, more assists, more rebounds. He shoots 90% from the free throw line. He shoots 10% higher free throws. He's got a 60% better effective field goal percentage, 52 to 46. McCollum is a disaster this year, dude. He's shooting 32% from 3. He's shooting 40% from the field, and he's taking more shots and playing more minutes.
Okay,
he's horrible this season.
So hear me out, okay? He missed 4 games. Like I said, he's played more games than Holiday. That's fine. I got that. Okay. He is without question. Now, granted, this year, I'm not arguing this year. Jrue Holiday's numbers are better. I told you they were. Okay. That's why last year matters, in my opinion, because it's recent enough to make an accurate comparison. Okay. When you get to the playoffs, what's the biggest thing? What's the biggest determining factor?
I get it, but you don't need CJ McCollum when you've got Brandon Ingram and you've got Zion.
You have 3. The Bucks have 1.5, right?
Holiday's the half?
No. Middleton is the 1. Giannis is the half from a standpoint of creating a clean look whenever he wants to in the half court. Okay? Now, I think Giannis, let's give him 2. That's fine. Because Giannis, I can't take that from Giannis. Okay? But when you talk about Ingram is elite at getting his own look. Okay? Zion can get wherever he wants. McCollum is elite, dude, at getting his own shot. And they defend. And Valanciunas is he a better player than Jared Allen? Probably not, but he's a better offensive player for sure, right? And Herb Jones and they defend.
I'm not with you.
Well, we'll see.
I'm not even close to. I can't even believe we're even talking about it. And I just chose the Bucks randomly. I would make the same argument that the Celtics starting 5 is better, that the Nuggets starting 5 is better, that the Warriors starting 5 is better, even with those dipshits on the floor.
Crazy.
You're nuts, dude. You're giving way too much credit to kids that have never done anything. And then McCollum, who has hit a wall. By the way, I've got it on your screen. This is last year, McCollum versus Holiday. And Holiday was better. And Holiday's way better this year. He's just better, dude. He's better. And he's also one of the 5 best defenders in the entire NBA. And McCollum's not a good defender. What? McCollum just isn't that good. I don't know if you're thinking about McCollum when he was next to Lillard and didn't have to do anything except what he felt like and didn't have to carry anything, but he's just not a point guard. So it's a little bit unfair to McCollum. He's just a 2, man.
I still rather have him in the playoffs offensively. Okay. You may be right. I may be proven wrong here.
Unfortunately, I don't know. Unless something's changed, you have to play defense also in the.
No, I know.
And I would like to have the best perimeter defender in the NBA.
Keep in mind, let me state this because I may be a little bit off base here. I think they have the best offensive starting 5 in the league. How about that? Okay. That to me is for certain because of Valanciunas. But nonetheless, look, and here's the deal. Even though
they're good. You're not going to get an argument from me. They're good. I don't think offensively, I don't know.
Even though I said that they had the best starting 5, the irony in that is I would still pick the Bucks or the Celtics to beat them in a series.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's 2 sides. I get it. No, I get it.
Yeah. So.
There's one thing we can't agree on. They're definitely one of those teams that's primed to be a regular season juggernaut because of their youth, because they have something to prove. They're going to care more about every game. I mean, I know Willie Green is in the locker room talking about trying to stay at the top of the Western Conference, and I assure you, half the other teams don't give a shit about that now. They're not talking about that, whereas that's motivation. That's the motivating, overriding theme for the Pelicans is that we're real, earn your respect, prove it, win the conference. That's not what Golden State's like. Just get healthy, and they're talking about the intricacies of things. And the Pelicans, that locker room talk is probably about earning respect. And that's usually when teams make those jumps and win regular season games. You saw it with the Jazz before. You saw it with the Grizzlies. It's this Grizzlies 2.0, man. It's really what it is.
No way. Because they have way more players than the Grizzlies do.
No. I mean Grizzlies 2.0 as in what we saw the Grizzlies do last year, winning the conference. Or didn't they win the conference? I just mean a team that needs to win the conference to prove to themselves they belong and to prove to the world they belong, and they've got youth and in depth and all that shit.
I think they're built for the playoffs, though, because they're not young.
Zion is anything but built for the playoffs, dude. He's anything but built for the playoffs. Giannis is not even built for the playoffs.
That's why having Brandon Ingram makes them, in my opinion, because they have that elite. I'm telling you, man, I'm gonna be real interested to see how they look in the playoffs.
I see your Ingram and Middleton comparison. The only difference between the two is one of those MFers has been there and done it, and one of them hasn't.
And I don't think Brandon Ingram knows where he is half the time, so I think it won't matter when it gets to that.
I don't think he's as high as you think he is. I think he's just got a really good tolerance. I don't think he's as high as you think. He's high, but I don't think he's as high as you think he is.
If Kevin Durant admits that he's high most of the time, okay, come on.
I forgot. Oh, it was the baseball pitcher Doc Ellis. I just saw a brief clip on Instagram. You get in those reels and you get in the zone and you can't stop just scrolling to the next one. Yeah. He said, "I never played a game without snorting coke before the game." In the game that he threw like a no-hitter or something like that, or it might have been a perfect game. Yeah. He's like, I couldn't even see the catcher. And I was like, hold on, now you're embellishing a little bit. He said he was coked out every single game he ever played.
Oh, my God.
Like before the game, people were asking him if he was going to be able to play. And he went out and threw it was either a no-hitter or a perfect game. But he was telling the story, and it was like, shit. I thought the NBA in the 70s was bad. This dude was throwing 100-mile-an-hour fastballs at people high as a kite. That would scare shit out of me as a hitter. Maybe that's why he threw a perfect game. They knew he was coked out of his mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so we talked a little bit about what we're going to do next week. And if you're still watching, thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. This is going to be airing on the Cajun Cardboard channel every week. I can't remember if we decided Tuesdays or Wednesdays, but I guess if you're watching it, you'll know what day it is. Yep. We talked a little bit about what we kind of wanted to talk about next week, but I'm going to take it a step further. We're going to have a first, second, and third team All-NBA. I want you out of the league. The players we most don't want to watch play that we want to vanish from the league. That's basically we can go 15 deep on our players that we least want to watch play basketball because they drive us bananas.
No. Can we switch this? Can we go first and second team and then an all-time team?
Okay, let's do that. So we're going to go first team and second team, all hatred, right? And I know my channel is all about positivity, but this is really just to make people laugh. So, and again, we don't mean any harm by it, but first and second team, all NBA hatred, and then all-time NBA hatred. Can a player on our current first and second all hatred team no, it's got to be a retired player.
Yeah, let's make it that way.
Did Dellavedova retire?
I saw him taking warm-up jump shots the other day.
He's not retired. I know he's not because I'm making sure. He's actually, I think he's on the Sacramento Kings.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so I can't put him on. Let's just put it this way. His name will be brought up. And I apologize because I know I got lots of friends in the hobby and that watch the channel from Australia. I'm sorry. My hatred for Dellavedova overrides my love for the continent and country of Australia and my friends that live there. He is just not high on my list because he stole so much money from the Bucks.
And again, keep in mind, some of these guys might actually be pretty productive players.
Some of them are going to be NBA starters on championship caliber teams. Right. You and I just agree from watching 4 decades of basketball. I can't take it anymore. I can't watch it. Right. Hell, if we'd have done this a couple years ago, there'd have been players on the Bucks. You know, in fact, there's always one player on the Buck, and there might be one Buck this year you might know who sneaks onto this list, who used to be one of my favorites because he did everything. He was the glue guy, behind the scenes guy, and now it's like, come on, we got to replace this cat.
Jrue Holiday, isn't it?
No, you should get the hell out of here, man. Get the hell out of here. I might put McCollum on my second team all hatred just because of this conversation. You need to put that mechanical pencil in your ear or something, because that comparison is terrible. I want people to comment below who's better right now at the game of basketball. Stop throwing out stupid offense-only hypotheticals.
I was proven wrong. I will admit that I was proven wrong, just like you were proven wrong about your All-NBA teams.
I was wrong. I was wrong about Booker and Steph. You were wrong about Jrue Holiday.
I don't know why I remembered. Maybe I'm thinking about like last year, his numbers when he joined the Pelicans.
Maybe you're thinking about a different player.
But he shot 68% from the free throw line last year. Anyhow, I couldn't have been more wrong. All right, I retract everything.
You hit a wall.
Here's the problem: our viewers can't get that 10 minutes of their life back. That's unfortunate. So I apologize. Yeah.
They may like that 10 minutes the most. You never know. All right. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned to next week. It's going to be our all hatred teams. There's the pinky, so it's time to go. And only one of them freaks me out. Keep collecting. Stay positive in the hobby. And peace.